Hey everyone, it's Rajiv and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be giving my book review of the contemporary romance novel called Landline by Rowell. Before I start talking about the book, I would like to say that I post book-related videos and reviews regularly in my channel. So if you enjoy watching this video, then please do like and subscribe. Now, for those of you who don't know who Rowell is, and I guess if you don't know who she is, you probably be one of those people who have not read much of young adult books. But she is one of the most well-known young adult writers. And she has written books like Eleanor and Park and Fangirl. And she has written a few adult contemporary books also like Landline. I have never really read any of her works before, so I decided to pick up this book because I kind of like the cover of it, and I am so glad I read her because I loved this book. So the story focuses around this woman named Georgie McCool. And I'm not kidding, that is her actual name, Georgie McCool, and it sounds like the coolest name ever. Georgie has been married to this guy named Neal for many years, but the two of them seem to be growing apart because Georgie seems to always focus more of her time and energy on her career as a television comedy writer, and she always gives her family the back seat. So the story takes place over Christmas time when Neal and Georgie and their two daughters have decided to go to Omaha to Neal's parents' house. But Georgie has to cancel the plans in the last minute because she has to work during Christmas time to write new episode for her own series, which could possibly be greenlit. Neal is not too happy about this at all, so he takes their two daughters and continues to go ahead with the vacation to see their parents in Omaha, leaving Georgie behind. Now, after Neal goes to Omaha, he stops responding to all of Georgie's calls, so she thinks there is something seriously wrong with the relationship because he has never acted like this before, and she thinks that he is going to leave her. Now, here's the interesting part. So when Georgie decides to take a break from work and she decides to go to her parents' house, she goes to her old room and she takes out her old landline to call Neal from there because she feels that maybe Neal is avoiding her calls when she calls through her cell phone. So she decides to call him on her landline. But surprise, surprise, when Neal answers, Georgie realizes that it is the Neal from 15 years ago before she was married to him. So Georgie realizes that her landline is somewhat like a time machine where she gets to talk to her husband from 15 years back, and she starts going over her past relationship with Neal and all the mistakes that she has done, and she also contemplates her relationship with Seth, who is her best friend and her colleague, and they somewhat share a connection as well. And Georgie decides to see if it's worth fighting with fate to change history while she is on the call with Neal. Oh my god, I absolutely loved reading this book. The characters are so real, whether it be Georgie or Neal or Seth. They are their own unique personalities and they don't change themselves for each other no matter how long they are stuck with each other. In fact, in one of my favorite scenes, Georgie tells Neal that he should not be with her because she is never going to change herself for him and that she is always going to put her career first and that he should reconsider whether he even wants to be with her or not. So the very interesting thing about this book for me was that as individuals, the characters are very flawed and they're kind of annoying, and if I was reading only about them separately, I would have not liked them at all. But I loved the dynamic of their relationship with one another, and that is what made the story so interesting. Personally, I love Neal more than anyone else in the story because he is someone who shows his loyalty and his love by doing it rather than just by talking about it all the time like Seth. He stays by Georgie so patiently and he trusts her blindly, even though there are so many situations where he could have suspected her having an affair with Seth. Speaking of Georgie, even though she was a bit annoying at times, I loved how confused and conflicted she becomes when she starts talking to the Neal from 1998, and how she starts contemplating the Neal of the present to the Neal of the past and starts questioning what she should do with their relationship. So like I said, more than liking her as an individual and as a person, I loved her dynamic and her scenes together with Neal and Seth together. And coming to Seth, I hated Seth as a character because he knows what effect he has on Georgie, and he knows how to play with her emotions, and he knows just to say the right things. And he also knows that by doing all of this, he is affecting her relationship with her husband. I actually know people like him in reality, and I hate such kind of characters. So he turned out to be one of the characters who I loved to hate. I think I liked Heather more than I liked Seth because I hated him that much. The story is written so well, and it is so different from the usual contemporary romance novels that you usually read. I was completely engrossed as to how the magic of the landline phone would work out. And to be honest, I really did not know how the story was going to turn out, especially towards the end. And this might be a possible spoiler, but I'm going to try not to spoil anything. But yeah, towards the end, where Georgie realizes what she has to do, and she needs to find out what happened to Neal and whether she actually changed destiny or not, it was just so interesting. And I was at the edge of my seat, and I was just trying to figure out what was going to happen. The story was also written in a very fun manner, in such that it keeps shifting between the past and the present. So a few scenes would be from the present timeline and it would suddenly shift to the past. Although at times it got a little confusing because there was so much shifting happening that I did not know which period I was reading about. And on a side note, as a 90s kid, I was totally thrilled that they made so many references to 90s pop culture, like Alanis Morissette and the Foo Fighters, and one of my favorite TV shows, which was 30 something. My only minor complaint about this book is that it got a little too repetitious at times. Even though the flashbacks are nice, the author keeps talking about Neal and Seth and their personalities again and again and again and again, to a point where I was just thinking, okay, we know about them, let's just move on. But overall, I loved reading this book because I thought it was the perfect blend of drama and comedy and mystery, and even a slight of Twilight Zone-like magic to it. I loved Rainbow Rowell's style of writing, and I must read all of her books. And I just realized that I have Eleanor and Park in my bookshelf, which I don't even remember buying, but I guess I will be reading that next because I just love her work. If you have read this book or any of Rainbow Rowell's other books, then please do share your thoughts and comments on the section below and let me know which one is your favorite, or whether you loved or hated some of them. Again, if you enjoyed watching this video, then please do like and subscribe, and until next time, bye!